Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Eventide role-playing game. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this survival horror post-apocalypse RPG that you can play with your group or as a solo or GM-less experience, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to take a look at the places of the Wastelands. I am going to give you a brief tour because this setting is pretty huge. Let's start with the City of Dusk, the walled bastion. Dusk is the largest settlement in the New World, surrounded by a massive wall that stretches entirely around the city. The exact population is unknown, but estimated to be in the tens of thousands. Unfortunately, the city is bursting at the seams, and new residents are rarely permitted. Dusk is a bit of an enigma, densely packed and sprawling, and rumored to be one of the few structural remnants from the old world that mostly survived the cataclysm. I will also be avoiding some details that could be considered spoilers, depending on how the game master handles his or her campaign. Then we have the Wildlands. The world that exists outside the walls of Dusk is known as the Wildlands. They compose a vast and mysterious place, the majority of which is unmapped and unexplored. Of course, there are several established settlements and areas of interest, such as Ash Town, which is a settlement in the northeastern corner of the New World. The settlement was built on the remnants of an ancient town long since burned to the ground, leaving nothing behind but the blackened shells of houses and buildings. The town inhabitants are forced to pay the Devil Boys, the tribe in charge, a weekly fee for protection from outsiders, entirely redundant given that their intimidating appearance and demeanor discourages trouble from outsiders altogether. Next we have Blood Bay. This cove on the southern coast of the island is named Blood Bay for a reason. Due to its proximity to Lake Halia, the site of gladiatorial-style battles facilitated by the war dogs, the bodies from the conflicts are dumped here in massive groups, leaving the water to turn into a scummy, bloody chum as it corrodes away at the corpses of the dead. We also have Bone Beach. This is a small beach made up entirely of human bones, making the stench of decay and rot overpowering, with only wanderers possessing the very strongest of constitutions able to stand being there for more than a few moments at a time. Currents in Blood Bay are the reason for Bone Beach's existence. Once the flesh of the corpses dumped into the bay has dissolved, the bones are carried by these currents and then washed up by the thousands along the shore, forming this macabre and makeshift beach of bones. Then we have Butcher's Bend. The Butcher's Bend is a crossroad in the northern regions of the island, where the roads leading to Guilestone, Karma, and Dusk converge. The path itself is a stone's throw away from a series of caves in the cove to the west, which bandits are known to make their nomadic home. We also have Darlia. It is a massive concrete silo in the eastern region of the island. The original function may have been some form of cooling tower, although those who wander the wastes wouldn't know. Now it simply serves as the home of the Motherhood. Then we have Dawn, which was once a massive and thriving metropolis. Now it sits abandoned in the Wildlands, a husk of its former self. The city is enormous, about 3 kilometers wide and 5 kilometers long. Many of the old buildings and structures in the city are still mostly standing. We also have Lake Halia. It was probably a beautiful place at some point in history. It dried up many years ago, and is now sadly the opposite of what is considered beautiful, a blood-soaked arena of death and debauchery. Then we have the Hanging Tree. It is a large, approximately 25 meters high, long dead tree, used as a site of public execution. Hundreds of corpses hang, bloated and rotting in the harsh sun. Then there is Harmony. It is a small trading post where adventurers can trade gear and stories. Crafters and looters come to Harmony to try to flog their wares, find pieces of equipment they need, or share many tales in a reasonably safe environment. Although Fights and scuffles do break out occasionally. Then we have Hell's Gate, which is a large, dormant volcano and mountain range, noteworthy for the tribe known as the Skinshanks, that make their home in its crater. The crater has mainly been covered with makeshift roof and wall sections, providing rough shelter to the settlement despite its bizarre location. However, the Skinshanks are a truly macabre and disturbing tribe, feared and hated by most across the island for their unnerving practice of wearing their victims' skins as a bizarre form of protection from the elements. Then we have Hudson. It is a large village located near the eastern mouth of the Sialia Pass. Many wanderers who manage to make the journey through the mountains successfully stop for the night in Hudson before continuing their journey east. The village is modest, with only 20 or so permanent residents. Next we have Karma. Karma is a large, dilapidated concrete building, 3 stories tall, with all windows boarded up and doors guarded. Its original function was forgotten long ago. As far back as anyone is concerned, it is known as a place best avoided, no matter how tough or brave a wanderer may be. Next we have Kylestone. Kylestone is a small fishing village on the northern coast of the island, almost entirely abandoned. Over the last 100 years, the seawater's rising acidity levels killed off the vast majority of the sea life in the area, driving many of Kylestone's inhabitants to seek refuge and food further inland. Next we have the Midfields. Of all the terrifying and strange places in the New World, there is none more feared and mysterious than the Midfields. Part place, part organism, the Midfields are an entire community fused into a single hideous organism and interwoven with the earth itself, a landscape of flesh, blood and pus. And these are just some of the places of the Wastelands. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about the tribes of the Apocalypse. This setting is huge, truly massive. All of these places have different sites and points of importance. There are also different details on the political structure, if you can call it like that. Within each of the settlements, there are rumors, adventure seats, information on the factions that inhabit or visit those places. There are maps and details on the important non-player characters that you may encounter while visiting those sites. This is truly an excellent setting, bursting with adventure seats or adventure ideas, perhaps for an entire campaign, focused on a small number of places or perhaps as a grand tour of the Wastelands. And of course, I think this is great for solo gameplay. If you decide to use the solo rules of Eventide, I recommend that you read very little about these different sites and places. That way you can discover them, find more about them as you move along across the Wastelands. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you and see you later.